Welcome to our second episode of the Tacos Al Pastor podcast. This is your host, Pastor Matt Homeyer. We have a wonderful guest from Trinity Baptist Church today with us today. Today we're going to be talking about the vision of Trinity Baptist Church in our history, how that's being lived in our present, how we're aiming for our future. But we have Dominic and Monica Yanas here today to join us to share a bit of their story. Thank y'all for being with us today.
Hey, thanks for having us, Matt.
All right. And you're here for the tacos, I know. And that's our tagline. Come for the tacos, stay for the conversation. So our tacos today come from Los Angeles here in San Antonio. Two locations in, I think, Castle Hills and in South San Antonio. It looks like we have some barbacoa and maybe some chorizo and egg on flour, one on corn. What are y'all gonna go for?
I'm gonna get the corn.
Go for the corn. All right.
I'm gonna get...
That's the good corn. That's not
the real question is which is the hot one?
Okay, so I am told the green is the hot and that is the more mild. From living in Central Texas, are you pushing the mild to me? All right.
Let me get that.
All right, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll take the mild.
In Central Texas, the green is generally less or more mild. In San Antonio, I've noticed that, here you go. The green is a little more, generally the spicier one.
It's deceiving because there's the seeds.
Yeah, you gotta kind of give it a little sniff test. I'm gonna stick just with the barbacoa for a little bit. So yeah.
These are really good.
Very good.
That's a good corn tortilla.
That looked like the good corn tortilla. I think they've. I like the kind of medium thickness tortilla. It's a pretty solid flour tortilla.
Yes.
And we had barbacoa last time on our first episode. It just got better and better every bite, and so I'm hoping this one will as well. But as my initial bite, pretty solid. How's the chorizo?
It's good. I'm glad that it's not greasy. Like sometimes you want that, but
Out
as we get older, I'm like maybe not so much.
Have you run into the issue yet of not being able to find barbacoa on a weekday here?
I have not. Is that a thing?
It is a thing. Yeah, barbacoa is a Sunday kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I read an article about 2M Barbecue, one of the main barbecue here in town, that does it on Sunday, and it made me wish I didn't have to go to church maybe one week so I could go get it for brunch.
Well, it's the unofficial motto of San Antonio: Big Red and barbacoa every day.
Every day. Yeah. Well, hey, learning things. Locals here. Locals. Well, we're here to talk about Trinity's vision. And the stated vision of Trinity Baptist Church is for seekers to become believers, for believers to become disciples. And the vision is to help people along that process. And as staff and others visited about, who would be great to come in and visit? Y'all's story came up of one who have kind of lived that process. And so maybe just kind of, would y'all be willing to share some of your stories as a couple, as individuals, just about how y'all went from seekers to believers and how, that story.
How long do we have?
We can edit whatever we need.
Okay, all right, sure.
Yeah.
Well, it all started in the 4th grade. No, it really did. Yeah. I mean, Monica and I went to the same Catholic school together.
Okay.
We were in different rooms. Just like for 6 weeks, we were separated by a wall, different grades. And we never met each other then. But when we met in college at KSYM 90.1 FM, we met in college radio. She knew people that I knew from Blessed Sacrament. I was like, hey, you know these people? Yeah, I went to high school with them, We realized that we had actually kind of been in each other's orbit for some time.
Y'all both locals and grew up here in San Antonio.
Grew up here. We were both altar servers, but I don't ever remember you.
We never altar served together.
Yeah, never altar served together. And I think that was a good foundation. Our parents put us in Catholic school.
Yeah.
And I just remember at a certain point when we were able to, it's like, okay, at this grade, we can become altar servers. And I was like, I want to participate. I think early on, I realized I wanted to participate in the Mass and limited options, but that carried through into high school. But by high school, I was like, not really feeling it and kind of wandered.
Yeah.
There was definitely, we both had a wilderness, but we had that foundation of God and Jesus and knowing just kind of the basics. And I think it took me years to get activated.
Yeah.
Until we reunited and we're like, we should probably find a spiritual home.
Yeah. I mean, the whole time there was, and people at the church know this, is that we've always been these spiritual people.
Yeah.
We were just searching for a new vocabulary, just something to have words to that we could put on equal terms with others.
Yeah.
And when we came to Trinity, I mean, we're pretty nervous about it, right? Because like it's like, it's like, do you go to church as an adult? It's like, well, I go to the funerals and the weddings and occasionally, something like first communion for someone else.
Yeah.
But we were coming to start to make that choice of, hey, I've been going to these Sunday school classes. My godmother and godsister are there in the special friends group, the special needs adult ministry. And
that's how you
that's how I got in. Yeah. And I saw something that I couldn't unsee. It was a fluency of faith. There was so much understanding in that room. And I would come home and she'd see me and
he was just like he's always pretty chipper and positive, and he was just like, this place is great, everybody's like smiling and there's like coffee and everybody's saying good morning. And he was seeing his godmother and his godsister, but also one of the academic advisors at San Antonio College. Her husband was in that group too. So we started seeing these kind of threads, these connections that were bringing it back to something. And I was nervous to approach it. There's these preconceived notions about just religion and church in general. And then with the Baptist church being raised Catholic and stuff, and we just had to dive in, and we went to a service, and I was like, oh wow, this is completely different.
That was mind-blowing. It was
so y'all went to our Mulberry service.
And I went to Mulberry, and Dr. Robert Creech was the interim pastor at the time, and he was talking about creation. So a good place to start again. I'll start from the beginning. And then he dropped like a Carl Sagan quote. And I was like, this guy gets it. He just reached me right now. It was incredible because then we went home that day after Bible study and we were just
like, oh wow, it kind of reignited. And again, we'd been spiritual, we knew kind of the basics, but here was something that reignited and activated something in us. And then I did the TCB for you and met the Pattersons, and they showed me all the small groups, and just realizing how much opportunity there is through Trinity. I was super excited about the floral ministry. That was the first one that I wanted to do.
Not what I expected, but all right, there we go.
And mind you, after a couple of weeks of coming to church, we're like, hey, look, I know we're getting a little more invested in this, and we like it. And I went to a potluck with these people, and they were all pretty cool. I like them. And now they're not these people. Now they're my friends. And I said, I won't do that thing where I dive headfirst into it and overwhelm myself and just totally just be absorbed by it.
Yeah.
Here we are.
On the podcast.
There's people, we go through changes, and those changes usually start with like the pre-contemplation.
Yeah.
Right? Where ideas are finally kind of coming together and we're entertaining these thoughts of like, what if?
Yeah.
What if I did this? And what if I tried this differently?
Yeah.
And after a while, those pre-contemplations take root.
Yeah.
And they start pushing out some of the old ideas. And there is a period, I know, last fall where it was kind of like out with the old and with the new.
Yeah.
Yeah. It totally changed the way I saw myself, the way we saw the marriage we were planning.
Yeah.
We were still planning a wedding at the time we started coming to church. And, that change really started to occur when we completely just immersed ourselves in this place.
When we fell into faith, we kind of fell back into it because, again, we had a centralized place that was a regular constant. I think we were looking for a consistency and how we just felt so welcome, and we were so instantly welcomed. And Sarah Sensenig, we asked her to officiate our wedding.
Yeah.
We knew her a few months, but there was a connection there, and she had baptized Dom, and I was like, yes, I want this. I love what Trinity is doing and providing for people like us.
Well, so much of what y'all are saying, this helps flesh out that first part of the vision to be a space, to be a place, to be a people where seekers might become believers. And sometimes I think those of us who have been believers and disciples for some time have preconceived notions about who are seekers, and maybe they're anti-God, far from God, living some lost and wayward life. And sometimes that happens, but so much more often it's people, as you said, that need a different vocabulary, or to speak faith with greater fluency. God is already there and present, comes to be known in a whole different transformative way. And that, I think that's very helpful in helping rounding out that understanding of that word seeker, that we've kind of been handed. There's so many differing ways, differing stages of seeking and ways to find that. And we talked about in our first episode, so much of that is found in community. It's you encounter God often through scripture, through prayer, you bet, through preaching even sometimes, but Carl Sagan quotes, but mostly through the people of God and what is sensed among them. So y'all talked some about like a change of vocabulary, fluency, some really helpful words. Again, looking at that vision, seekers become believers, believers becoming disciples. As in your journey, or just in y'all's understanding, what is that difference between believer and disciple? What are, no wrong answer, right? Just what do y'all think some of the differences there are, and why maybe that's differentiated?
Action.
Okay.
I think a believer, it still takes a lot of, a certain amount of surrendering, a certain amount of like even ego loss. But I think being a disciple is that action. You are doing something. You are out in the community. You're doing something, or even within your home, you are doing something that moves the spirit forward. And Trinity has different volunteer groups and a Bible study group where they are just all about volunteering and stuff like that. I think that's the discipleship, that it's an active movement.
So kind of from the head to the heart to the feet, where your whole being there and your time and everything is kind of encompassed in that, not just sort of belief. But that's great. Dom, do you have any variations on that?
Yes, in action, right? That's one. That's a big one for us. But the other one for me, it's been scholarship. It's been study and reading, investing myself in new types of literature I've never tried reading before. And, when I came to Trinity, I was in my research year in grad school, and I was finishing a major, massive research project for policy, public policy. And, I finished school, and at the meantime, I had started kind of, like a DJ, they start cross-fading to the next record. And there was something
I don't know, but I'm sure cooler people than I know what that means.
How many references to the radio have you
Not enough. Okay. Right, not enough. But it was something that I started to apply my mind to, and I was like, there's so much to think about in this and unpack. And, when we go back to being altar servers to where we are today, there was this period in the middle where it was like God gives us space to work, to not be micromanaged, to try to do things on our own, and to see how there's so much we can't do. We are utterly dependent on that relationship with God. And I'm learning this through not just the readings, but even just reflecting on the memories I've been blessed with to piece together, saying, this is all starting to make sense now. 38 years of being on planet Earth is starting to come together because there was this connection that I wasn't seeing. And so cycling back to, I swore I'm not going to jump into this. Like, I'm auditing a class in seminary right now. And it is beyond pre-contemplation for seminary. It is about I'm going to really throw my heart into this literature and open this up and connect it to everything else I know.
Well, it is that we are free to use our time. God allows us that freedom to use our time, our energy, our mind, our body, how we see fit. The disciple chooses, because of what Christ has done in us, to use as much of that as we can for Jesus' use, our mind, our body, our heart, all of those things. And I think it's remarkable maturity on y'all's part too, to be able to piece your story together from the beginning, to say you don't have to throw out your past when you come to this new understanding of Jesus. your past is what led you here, the good and the bad of it. And it's kind of a continuous thing God's been working on. That's also that path of the apprentice, I think. Very good.
Yeah. Reinhold Niebuhr said that to be radical monotheist is to accept life's disappointments as gifts. Yeah,
really
is to look at all the things that came before, the setbacks, the trials, the tests, and to understand that all of them were meant as something to be grateful for.
Which is to say, all of life is a gift, right? Everything, this conversation, whatever we have, it's all gift, and to be seen in light of that. Boy, so many ways we could go from there. I'm still thinking about barbacoa. I think one of the next episodes, we're going to have to bring in Big Red with the barbacoa. I think that would be a nice red aesthetic there, and really get the full San Antonio experience of that. But yeah, so far, barbacoa just gets better. It's kind of my first one, like, all right, it's all right. But then
I noticed this.
Settle in.
So mine has fallen apart, right? Okay, I'm using a corn tortilla here.
Yeah.
Now, typically, tacos you want to have on paper plates. Okay. So you fold it up like a taco at the end, and then
a taco for the taco.
That's exactly what it's for
very
shuffling food into your mouth.
Meta taco. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Good.
Yeah, these are pro tips here.
This really is insider language. Yeah. All right.
Now, I've been to Boston, and they served me duck tacos there. And they served them on like stainless steel platters, and they were under lamps, and they were so fancy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was at a fancy event, right? And I was like, back home, we just throw these in foil in a paper bag.
Exactly.
They're
don't fancy this up, Boston. It's what do you expect?
It's unleavened bread and some. We're good.
Stay for that. We can go more on tacos. I'm gonna. So in your journey, I mean, y'all have learned a lot. God has been very active in your life, and I think many of us have observed this, and we've had coffee and talked about it. What have been kind of some of the joys of that? What have been some of the challenges as y'all have been on your own kind of journey from, if I can apply these labels, right? Seeker, believer, disciple, just on this journey of being mature and growing in maturation. What have been some of the joys? What have been some of the challenges of that for y'all? And you got married in the midst of a lot of this, just in last March, right?
March.
Yeah.
March 12th.
Okay.
So I think, again, that community, you spoke about community, I think you can't really practice faith in a bubble. You can't do it by yourself. And I think that's where we were as seekers, where we're just very individualized. We're going to do it by ourselves and it's so silly because you need community. The potlucks are obviously fun because we love to cook and share food, and we were looking for this outlet. And then the Bible studies have just been great because, again, it's we're such nerds. You're telling me we get to read and discuss a great story. Yeah, sign me up. And being able to hear different perspectives and share and connect and see that light every weekend is super intense and great. And it's just a regular positive thing in this life. And that's my takeaway from it.
Yeah. And I think part of the maturing process is realizing our use of time and using time meaningfully.
Yeah.
And, we have our fun and we have the life we live, but Saturday nights we're reading the Bible study guide for the next day because we know it's like, our sleep tonight is not about Saturday. It's about being fresh for Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. Sleep is for the next day, not the day before. And what I do today is not for the day behind me. It's for the day ahead.
It's a very Sabbath concept of you start Sabbath at sundown, and for that, you get your sleep, you get your rest, and that, I think most of our lives are lived backwards of that. We sleep out of exhaustion instead of resting to prepare us for work. I mean, that's a mindset shift, and that Sabbath isn't about coming into a week exhausted, and this just goes into our life with Christ. Sabbath is about resting well so that we can live out of an abundance of God. Anyway, that's a really healthy mindset.
I learned it from LeBron James.
Okay, LeBron too.
but you've reinforced it.
Yeah.
So, yes, all right.
It's pastor approved.
Okay, equal validity here. All right. But
that's really fun.
Yeah. But there was this one of the services where I saw somebody respond to the call to the altar, and she must have been in her late 80s.
Yeah.
And I got super emotional during that. Just to see the courage to be in front of others to declare faith like that. And I saw that, and I told Monica, and I said, I think I need to be rebaptized before the wedding.
Mm.
And when they baptize me, they need to really like scoop from the bottom. Okay. And we started to coordinate that. And I said, because our marriage is not going to be boyfriend and girlfriend plus. It's going to be a completely new solution between us. It's going to be a bond that has completely new characteristics about it. To do things together that we couldn't do before. And that has definitely been the case. So in our vows, it was about building legacy together. It was about using that now as a platform for us, that this is not two independent people that you got to like shake up and mix together. And like, it's just one clear solution. And Sarah Sensenig, who rebaptized me, who did not fall into the pool with me when we did it. We had a whole contingency plan in place. So it was like, well,
she was pregnant.
She was pregnant.
She was pregnant.
And like, the music's already playing. We're ready to go out. It's showtime, right? And there's a contingency plan. Sarah's like, well, if I fall in, you got to pick me up to point to Dr. Creech. And Dr. Creech says, yeah, I'll get you. And then you get him. And then I'm there. It's like, all right. And Dr. Creech says, we're going to get you out. And I said, just get me in. Just get me in. We'll be okay. All right.
That's funny.
But Sarah going on and officiating our wedding. And I remember a lot at the tiny altar we made at the wedding. On the
little table.
Yeah. And Sarah asked, would you like communion? And one of the highlights of that wedding was Sarah looking me in the eyes and saying, Dominic, I'm going to emulate this. She's holding the bread. She goes, this is the body of Christ.
And it was, she's so goofy most of the time, but having her like officiate our wedding and being so serious and stuff, I know it literally sealed the deal.
It elevated that moment to, this is more than what you see in a rom-com.
Exactly.
There is an epic story happening here on the backdrop of a bigger narrative.
I say at weddings now, this will be the biggest witness of your life, is this relationship. Whatever else, even as a pastor, my family, my spouse, like that is what more people will see. And I will be able to show or not show Jesus more in that relationship than any other one I have, because it's all the time, and it's such a powerful thing. And to live into that from the beginning, I think a lot of people discover that a few years in. It's a wonderful thing.
Last night we were auditing, I'm auditing at Druid, and we're talking about Schleiermacher. And talking about religion as a relationship. And in the class discussion, we talked about why it's important to have that relationship with God. Using Christ as your model. And because if we can emulate that kind of relationship with each other, we're already doing the foundation of our faith.
Man, that's so good. I haven't even specifically asked how the church, Trinity Baptist Church, but the church in general, has shaped your faith. But yet it's just so encouraging to hear, by just being who Trinity is, which is to say, just being the church, not anything maybe so special. Jesus has been, given witness to and modeled, and has been a part of y'all's faith development kind of over this year, but even before that. And that's, I think, exactly what all churches hope for, but specifically just by being who we are and doing what we do, the Spirit of God works through that in ways we don't always know to help lead people along this process. And that is so encouraging for a pastor to hear, and certainly what we're hoping happens at all time. So for those that may, be a visitor to church or just looking at this from the outside, what are those of us in church wanting to grow in our faith? What encouragement would y'all give? Y'all have talked about some things you've done and things have been meaningful for you. What encouragement would you give those kind of starting at that seeker place, wondering about moving forward?
I think either joining a ministry or joining a small groups. We've been at Trinity for a year this month, and we're in 3 different ministries. We got asked to be greeters pretty early on, and that's a great way. We received these nice smiles and handshakes when we were going there, and then to turn around and offer that, and people are so grateful for. They're like, "Oh, y'all are so young," and I was like, "Thank you." Please say it again. So they're feeling that welcome, and then being able to give that back to people. We've met so many more people, and just carry that that kindness and that welcoming on, and being able to help and talk about Trinity Baptist to visitors is great. I think just finding that community. And I know sometimes it's like scary to try something new. And I was scared to step in into the church life again, but you just kind of have to let that go, and trust
none of them are perfect, right? I mean, they're all going to be imperfect. You're going to be in Sunday school with people you don't agree with, or that say weird things, and that's it's usually Dom, and but that, or you have fights about little things as church here and there. We all fall short of this. That's also some of the beauty of being together. It's this diverse group of people that believe different, think different backgrounds, doing our best to come together and unify, not in our political opinions or our, recreational activities or our DJ habits or whatever they are, right? But as unifying in Christ in the midst of all this difference. That's when it is so encouraging and just beautiful when it comes together. And and y'all have dived in with Divin. Yeah. Anyway,
jumped in.
Yes.
Yes.
There you go. And anyway, y'all encourage many others through that.
Coming to Trinity Baptist Church and seeing the amount of service that's occurring, and for me, service was always important. Because I'm a volunteer. I've, like, my CV of volunteering, believe it or not, is longer than all the places I've worked at. And that's a lot, But it's, I was always trying to serve. And a lot of people are like volunteer curious, like, I want to make a difference in the world. And, when you're serving an individual or a cause, that's one thing.
Yeah.
And when you suddenly have the light put on, it's like, no, you're actually serving like a whole kingdom.
Yeah.
That your role, whether it's opening the door for somebody or rearranging the flowers into vases for people to take home, or building a habitat home.
Yeah.
You realize the much bigger implications of that.
Yeah.
It changed, radio DJ again. It's a volunteer spot, 2 hours. And before that, I prayed. I realized that what I'm doing is a quiet form of public ministry.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just about the music. It was really about sharing something much bigger with everybody, saying, hey, this is a gift to me, and I'm sharing it with you.
And that's the life of a disciple, right? That every aspect of your life can and will be used for the glory of God and the kingdom of God if we allow that to happen, right? So whatever our jobs are, whatever, as we parent, as we do whatever we do in our life, all of that's part of that difference, I think, of growing and being more mature, is that every aspect of our life can and will be used. And I'd take something you said one step further, just sort of putting my pastor hat on, which is, I guess, why I'm here. For the disciple, there's no volunteering, right? It's not like, sometimes volunteering is like, I have my life, and then volunteering is just like extra piece.
It's an afterthought.
And it's like an extra thing where serving on the floral committee, greeting, just caring for one another, attending Bible studies, encouraging people that are hurt, all of the things that we do, it just flows out of the aspect of this life of following Christ. It's not separate from who we are or a little bonus we add on. It flows from that life of Christ.
It's in the scaffolding.
Yeah, exactly.
And, with coming to Trinity Baptist Church here, like, you see, this is an institution of becoming, and it is practiced moment by moment. And one of our senior church members, he told us something I didn't forget. Actually a few things. One of them was, look at this beautiful church that you're inheriting just because you want to show up and work for it. You want to give.
Yeah.
And all of this could be yours if you're willing to just love it and care for it like we did.
Wow.
And he said something else a few weeks later. This is my favorite place to be.
Yeah.
And I never really asked that. I was like, where is my favorite place to be? If I asked that out loud, most people are going to think, that spot on the couch, right? Throw on Netflix and just, have
the kitchen.
The kitchen, right?
Let's be
or,
real.
or a place that might be temporary somewhere. I have favorite places around town. It's like, oh, there's a beautiful view from this cliff, and now there's apartments there.
Yeah.
Now they get the beautiful view from the cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's favorite. That is a really good place to wrap up this conversation. I mean, that this journey we're on is about the generations that have given not just Trinity Baptist Church, but the many more generations that have gifted the church, universal, to our generation and those around us, that we get to build for the next. And that there is extreme joy in being together when we're on this journey together. But thank you all for sharing your story. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your friendship. And we are thankful for y'all very, very much. Thank you all for joining us for this episode as we've discussed the vision of Trinity Baptist Church. Tune in to future episodes. We appreciate you joining us. Please like and subscribe below to the Trinity Baptist Church YouTube channel. If you have thoughts on where our tacos should come from for a future episode, please comment below. If you've got questions or subject you would like addressed or for us to visit about in a future podcast episode, feel free to comment below. Thank you again for joining us.